Welcome back, everybody. I've been looking forward to this for the last hour. A local tomato expert is joining us this morning. He's the owner and producer of Tomatomania, and it's an event showcasing all things, you guessed it, tomatoes. He's now going to show us how to take care of those plants when we're doing it in our own yard. And Sharon is out on the patio with Scott Daiger. Sharon.
That's right, Joe. Good morning, everyone. Today is all about getting our hands dirty and working on that green thumb. That's right. We're going to help you with your tomato planting. We have Scott with us this morning. He is one of the authors of Tomatomania. We had you join us before on our morning show.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here. A lot of folks, it's spring, so tomatoes, very popular, especially for cooking.
Of course.
We're going to get to your book in just a moment, but let's talk about the planting of tomatoes. We actually have my co-anchor in there going, I can't get my tomatoes to be ripe and nice. So you're going to actually show us the tips we need to know.
We need to fix that, don't we? My gosh.
Yeah.
Well, we're sitting out here. It's a little chilly this morning.
I'm freezing.
It seems like, if we wait for things to be consistent, we'll wait forever. So it's time to plant. It's time to plant.
That's true.
And you have very different planting needs and considerations throughout the viewing area. But
and you were
we'll
talking
do it
about
right.
how this area, especially compared to the coastal influence, can be
Coastal influence is very different.
Right.
It's very different. Where you're warm, it's easy to grow just about any tomato. If you're coastal, and this is a key thing, choosing a tomato plant. Choosing a tomato plant is perhaps it's the first step.
Yeah.
What's going to work for you? If you're on the coast, smaller than a baseball, right? And early. We want something that's early. And if you're looking at plants, you want something that says it's going to ripen, or the days to maturity is under 72 days. That's what tomato growers know that when they're looking.
So let's say, we have an amateur tomato grower,
Yes.
Someone who wants to go outside and, get their spring planting started. What's the first step here?
Well, find a good medium, and by that I mean, where are you planting? If you're in the ground, you need to amend and put a lot of organic materials in there so it's nice and rich, nice and fat. You want a nice fat soil to plant in. In a container, you want a premium potting soil. That's the base. And you can amend that as well. You can add worm castings, your compost from your own bed, whatever. And after you make your choice, you've worked that soil really well, you'll take the plant out of the pot, obviously. These roots are not very root bound, but you might loosen them slightly. And here's the thing, when you put the plant in the ground, in order to get a good start, you're going to dig a deep hole, generally in the ground, but in the pot you're going to prepare a deep planting space. And when you put that plant into the medium, into the space, I want you to sink it.
Oh, really get in there deep.
Dig deep and plant deep. That's how you get started in the best way. So here, and obviously we're not in soils for obvious reasons, but you want to plant some of that stem, because actually, Shereen, what happens is all those little hairs on a tomato that we notice invariably, so a lot of that turns into roots right away. So your plant is more stable, more sturdy, and you get it off to a really good start.
So maybe one of the mistakes is people kind of don't push far into the soil, so it doesn't, it's an advantage.
It's an advantage, and it's the best way to get started. So you'll pull off everything, all the leaves or anything that's going to be underground. You put your plant in. You obviously now you add a good fertilizer of some sort, whether it's a compost tea or whether it's we always like to talk about organic and balanced. That's what you need.
Pick the right fertilizer?
Well, again, organic and balanced. Those are the words. There are many lines. There are many ways to do it. And if you're in the ground, you'll only fertilize a couple times in a season. If you're in a container, and by the way, this is a small container. What I really want you in, if you're planting tomatoes, I want you in something large, because you need a little volume to plant that baby. But in a container, you're fertilizing every 10 to 14 days because you've got to give it everything it's gonna need.
Now, there are a lot of different kinds of tomatoes that you can work with. For those people that are maybe just starting this process out, are there ones that are easier than others?
Well, the cherries tend to be the easiest of all. They're closest to the species. So the smaller tomatoes, because they produce more, often are more successful for people because you get more. If you're growing a large tomato, and that again is sometimes hard to do on the coast, you normally wait till the end of the season and you just get a few, which to some doesn't seem so great. So choose wisely. What are you going to eat? What are the kids going to like? How are you going to cook them or whatever? And then again, strategize. Coastal, smaller stuff works better for you.
And if you're looking at the plants over here, I mean, how do you go about choosing it? So, you are at Home Depot or something.
Well, you're wherever you choose. Hopefully you have a good selection.
Exactly.
Right? And we've got one called Orange Blossom here, as you say. There's so many varieties in the tomato world now. But you want a nice sturdy seedling. I mean, that's about the end of it. And you're gonna, again, even though these are tall, you're gonna bury that stem. They're all gonna look the same, same size when you finish planting them.
Right.
And you're off to the races. So a little bit of fertilizer, again, that good medium. And you know what we mess up most? Good morning. You know
Yeah,
what we
brought
mess
my
up
coworker
most in the tomato garden? Water.
Okay.
We give them too much.
Let's talk about that, because
Well, it's
initially you
important.
want a
I've
good
had
amount
lots
of water.
issues with my tomatoes.
Are you coastal?
I'm right here in Santa Barbara.
Well,
I have issues with my tomatoes, so I've been paying attention.
People do.
So talk to us about the water.
Well, listen, we often give tomatoes too much water.
Okay.
And while water's on the forefront of everybody's brain, if I plant this baby in the ground today, and it's nice and it's not hot, I will soak the root ball. That's the rule. Soak the root ball every time you water. Then it's got to dry out. So I'm watering it again maybe in 3 to 4 days. Not every day, like everybody thinks. Oh, I have to keep babying that plant. It's tough. It's tough. If you can go from 3 days to every 4 days to every 5 days, as the season goes along, water deeply when you water, but infrequently. That's the rule. I'm in Ojai. I'm watering every 6 to 8 days at the height of the summer, and it's hot.
Pretty good. Okay.
Yes, it
in
is
this
good.
drought,
you
it definitely helps
Well,
us,
you have to
right?
train the plant and
Right.
don't overdo. So it's a good lesson for everybody as we think about water and gardens. Tomatoes can sort of, chart the course for us.
I don't know. What do you think?
The big pots that mine's in a very small pot.
Well,
I only have a
there you
patio,
go.
so I've already figured out my problem.
There you go.
I'm going to
And
take this with me.
Well, you know the other thing about this, baby, it doesn't heat up.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Gotcha.
So where do we put our containers? Concrete, stone,
Right.
asphalt, right? Height of the summer, all that reflected heat, you're just frying roots.
All right.
You're not making tomatoes.
That's right.
So find a pot that won't heat up or wrap a pot. This one's a little too small. That's about as small
this
as you want
one
to go.
seems
Bigger
ideal.
is better when it comes to tomato planting
go.
in pots.
All right,
okay?
Scott, thank you so much. Yeah, Joe, I don't think that mug's going to work out
Yeah, I know.
anymore.
I gotta get a bigger pot.
Tomatomania, thank you so much, Scott, for being here. Hope you enjoyed those tips. We'll see you tomorrow.